Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Virgo November 2022 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant. And I've done a number of clairvoyant one-on-one readings for Virgos from different parts of the world. And if you might be interested to see what's involved, just check out the information below, particularly the web link. Now, we're going to take 5 cards because 5 is all we need to see what is in store for you. So let's begin it with something from in the middle, which is this. Death. What a beautiful looking card. Great energy around that, I must say. There's justice. A couple of women there. There's the Ace of Cups. There's the 5 of Wands. I'm going to take this one just out of curiosity's sake. Oh, there's the Queen of Discs. Well, why don't you come now? Sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the imagery on these cards together while I do the reading for you. Oh, what great imagery, hey? Let's have a look at the first one that you drew. The child of the great transformers, the lady of the gate of death. Do you know the fates were ladies, 3 of them, who would have silken threads that would determine by pulling and pushing how people in the ancient times would live their lives. And I think that this is one of those fates. I think it's the one which is called morte. But anyway, what would you die for? Now, the death card itself is really the tarot's memento mori. Memento mori Latin means remember you will die. And it's here to remind you that you are mortal, to live a good life and to live it to the fullest. For one day, you too will die. Now, it may come as something of a surprise to know this, but none of us are getting out of this alive. Now, this card, I think, shows mortar, the crone, the cutter of the thread. That was the thread of fate for people's lives. But cutting that thread also gives your soul liberation. Death is not extinguishing the light. It is putting out the lamp because the dawn has come. Now, the threads of life are her radiating hair. The flower is a traditional memento mori symbol that was used in the art of that time, really from the medieval period up to really around about 1800 in Western Europe. And the reason why they used flowers was because flowers only bloom for a short time before their petals fall back to the dirt. Now, mantis is the Greek word for prophet, as mortar knows your hour of death. Now, the 13th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is mem, and that means water. What is the abyss but water with no end and no light? To go into death is to go into this dark place, be it the water of oblivion or the water of your own subconscious. As you descend, you shed your sins, your guilt, the pieces of clothing that make up your life until you reach the bottom. Naked, you can see yourself for what you really are. Do you know, people are not the only things that go through cycles and end with death. There are situations, relationships, eras of your life, even the seasons of the earth and the stars and the wheel of the great year go through cycles of life and death. At some point, everything comes to an end, which is good. Life and death have the same maker and come from and through each other. Even though death ends a cycle, the circle continues. Death is not the last card in the tarot. And it's only just past the midpoint, really, of the major arcana. There is life after death, and life in death, and we can see death in life. But when you face your own death, you can live life to the fullest. Now, astrologically, I see Mars ruling Scorpio here, Mars, the planet of fiery energy in its lowest form, which is necessary to provide the impulse to change. This is speaking of a transformation for you. You see, Scorpio, the reason why I say it's Scorpio is snake. The scorpion transforms. It becomes the snake, and then it becomes the eagle in its exalted form, becoming free of old ensnarements. There's letting go of emotional attachments here for you. There's the end of a cycle or a transformation here. Old relationships are demanding to be disintegrated. Now, this process may be bound together with painful experiences, sadly. However, because you have drawn this card, it indicates that you are ready. The act of letting go, difficult as it may seem to be, is actually going to set you free. It will liberate you. Death shows two faces, one destroying and tearing down, the other freeing you from old bonds which have become confining, preventing life. Now, which of these aspects will predominate depends on your attitude. And any desire to hold on to or cling to old bonds will cause their death to appear that much more agonizing. I think you are now ready to make the necessary changes in your life. Accept any pain that may come with the loss of the old. Ask yourself this question. To what outdated relationships or situations are you clinging? Do you know, say this to yourself. I let go of people and situations with ease and dignity. Every ending heralds the new beginning. I now say yes to death and yes to myself. And by letting go of these things, you see, you set yourself up for wonderful enrichment and fulfillment, and that is spoken of here in this Ace of Cups. Now, here we have, the Ace of Cups is an angel, and I think the signs around you that will be important are Sagittarius, Libra, Scorpio, and it is, of course, the element of water, and lunar, with pure wings of the dove. It is yin, internal and soft as a river. It flows around rocks where fire might blast through them. Now, the Ace of Cups is like the moon for me. It is internal, and it is internal looking and cyclic. The emotions associated with the Suit of Cups have a very real and important reason to exist. They are the messengers of the subconscious, just like the angels are the messenger of God. When I say angels are the messenger of God, in the old Hebrew texts of the Hebrew Bible or Christian Old Testament, the Hebrew word for messenger of God was malach. And that word malach, when there was a translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek, because a lot of the Jews at the time didn't speak Hebrew, they lived in places that everyone spoke Greek, they translated the word malach into angelos. And we, meaning messenger of God, and we took angelos and turned it into angel. So it means a messenger of God. Interesting, eh? But emotions are only what lie on the surface, though. Beneath the waters that are very deep, the reservoir of all human knowledge that you have inherited from your ancestors and their ancestors back to the very oldest of all living things on earth in an unbroken chain. It is very ancient and wise and speaks to you through emotions, dreams, visions, gut feelings, through your intuition, through psychic phenomenon. Now, I don't know where the bottom of this water is. Perhaps it has no bottom. It is without end. But it connects us all in a collective unconscious. You are the steward of a very ancient bloodline. Now, with free will comes free will of love. When you transcend the biological demands of the subconscious and truly begin to decide how you want to love, openly and without judgment or caution, without expectation of return, with purpose, compassionately. This is the kind of powerful, flowing force that is yin and can gently move mountains and shape the very earth itself. Now, this is a period where I think Scorpio, Libra, Sagittarius are going to be important. There's overflowing love coming to you at this time, and emotional clarity, a deep love of the self, giving and receiving. You know, the Ace of Cups is really the feminine counterpart of the Ace of Wands. It is open, receptive, surrendering, bearing the transformatory power of giving love. What we see here is love in its purest sense. Abundance, the possibility, I think, of a new relationship here. I'm sure you're going to hear of birth or pregnancy, and sensual passion. Now, if you're not partnered with sensual passion, you may have a very active mental or fantasy life in that respect, and that's fine as well. But emotional balance is available to be used by you and drawn upon for the next year. The cup of unconditional love is now being offered to you. Are you going to drink from it? This does represent unconditional love, so you should also give and forgive unconditionally to get the inner peace that you seek. You are in contact with all-embracing love. It fills you, and you can pass it on generously, lavishly to others. What is your way of expressing love? Just say to yourself and bathe in it that an all-encompassing love fills me and my environment. Now we turn next to this thing at the other end of the diagonal, which is justice. Now you might recognize this as the ancient Egyptian goddess Maat. Now, what can I say about this painting? Work, earn, know yourself, create your reality, become your greatest potential. Ground wishes with action and be the center of the real and the sublime. Weigh your heart. Now this goddess here with the feather, Maat. Maat means truth, and truth is what imposed order, law, justice, morality, and balance upon the ancient world. It's also fair to say that it had imposed balance on the primordial chaos. Now, when a person died, their soul would go to a chamber. Now, where she was. Now, within her chamber, the Hall of Two Truths, Maat weighed the heart of the dead. The heart was considered to be the center of the person, the actual person itself. If it was light like the feather, like truth, the heart, the seat of the soul, would go on to live in eternity with Osiris. If it was heavy, it would be fed to the hungry monster, Amut, the devourer, who was a combination of crocodile, lion, and hippopotamus, those deadly animals of ancient Egypt. And when devoured, the person would just cease to exist. There was just oblivion, nothing, no punishment or torment, just gone. This is Venus ruling Libra with Saturn exalted. Now, Libra emphasizes that the energy of this card is about balance and equilibrium. So I see here that there's going to be a period of centering by you and balancing of opposites. There's justice, of course, balance, adjustment as you make changes to things, and I think possibly the suspension of some action pending your decision. So you're going to be thinking long and hard about important things that you need to do. You're actually going to be very objective and could stand back. Now, this can also refer to lawsuits or marriages or contracts. It's a good time for bringing finances into balance in particular. I think it's a time when you will be taking stock of your life to see what is useful and what should be let go, but this is not surprising given that we've seen this here as well. I think you'll be thinking clearly about life ahead and be aware that all actions have consequences. You'll be having a much clearer vision of possibilities and choices ahead of you and applying your insights that you've gained so far to bring a balanced approach to life. You'll be discovering and following your true path and what gives you the most meaning. So pay attention to what situations in your daily life tend to throw you off balance. Discover the conditions under which you find harmony again, and carry this quality with you more and more as you move through your daily activities. Now, what helps you reach your balanced center and to stay there? And what happens when you lose your center? I think it's important to maybe spend some time for just steadying your center. Some people might do it with meditation, but say this: I am balanced and centered. I honor my word. I value being truthful even in difficult situations. The abundance and beauty of nature is a reflection of my own nature. I am at rest in my own center. Now let's have a look at, on that same horizontal line, this card, which is Five of Wands. Okay, hello Five of Wands. Look, the lion is a great and powerful symbol for the sun, with his corona of radiant mane, his domination of the landscape, his heart and roar, which, according to, a work called The Proverbs of Hell, which was by an English poet called William Blake, who died in about 1827, he is a portion of eternity too great for the eye of man to behold. Yeah, that William Blake thing, it's called The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, and it's called The Wrath of the Lion, and there's a section there, Proverbs of Hell. But look, this fire in the forest, the lion in the forest, is a fire in the temple, broken off piece of the sun, perhaps, a burning, blazing, consuming and hungry source of life and energy, ancient and unfaltering. Now you tend to it, keep it, and pass it on to others. It is strong and old. It always perseveres and never gives up, nor is it ever tamed. It is present in men and women in the temples of their bodies, in the garden of paradise that resides in your breast. Now, the astrology of this energy here is quite interesting. It is Saturn in the first decan of Leo, 23rd of July to, I think it's the 2nd of August. Well, look, to be frank, Leo, Saturn in Leo, well, Leo and Saturn, they just hate each other. They hate each other because Leo wants to be creative and express itself, while Saturn, true to form in this area, comes in as cold and dense, and it wants to set boundaries and limits. Now, with this 5 here, I have a mystical association with the planet of Mars, which is very fiery as well, as is the fiery suit of Wands, and there's also the fire of Leo. So we have fire in the suit, fire in the constellation, and fire in the number. And what happens is that Saturn comes in and tries to dampen down all of this. And so there is astrological and numerological discord. Now, numerologically, a 5 can I think in this position, can refer to instability, to exaggeration, to strife, to changes, a loss of some sort or other. Fives burst into the situation, unsettling things and sometimes destabilizing things. They appear as storms and stress. This isn't to be regarded as something evil, but it can refer to unrests, disagreements, or an internal battle, or a competition. But it can also refer to problem solving, and it can, I've got to say, refer to sexual arousal and activity. I think that what's going on here, based with this Queen of Wands at this beautiful Queen of Discs, rather, at the other end of this diagonal, is that you might find yourself, in a sense, competing with somebody who has the same type of attractive nature that you have, the same sort of attractive looks that you do, different to you, but nevertheless an attractive type of a person. And you may find that you are maybe even subconsciously competing with that person. Now, I don't think there's anything dramatic that's going to be happening with it, but it can come about. It could also be the case that you are going for job interviews where a number of candidates are offering themselves for the job, and you are competing with them. But look, even if you do consciously compete with somebody else, the danger in this situation is of resigning yourself. Just giving up can be great. But Saturn, you see, Saturn's not I know it's called the Great Malefic, but it actually does remind you that all things must be taken care of step by step. Don't let yourself be overwhelmed. Always look again to the flames behind the wands, which burn on despite any obstacles. Because you have drawn this card in this position with this Ace of Cups here, I am convinced that it is a sign that you are ready to face the situation, to do something about it, and that you will prevail. Now, what is any insurmountable obstacle that seems to stand between you and the realization of your goals? Go step by step. Take everything a little easier and say to yourself, I am more and more capable now of expressing my feelings and my creativity in work, love, and social relationships. I am powerful and I will prevail. Now let's deal finally and quickly, because I'm aware of the time for you, with this Queen of Discs. Well, you work for me, I've got to say. Now, the Greeks and the Romans thought diamonds were tears of the gods, pieces of stars fallen to earth, or even that they were living beings that possessed a soul. Diamond comes from the Greek word adamas, which means invincible or unconquerable, as diamonds are the hardest substance known to man. Now, all these things could also be said to describe the soul and you as an individual. Tears of God, a tear of God, a descended star, unconquerable, strong, possessing of a soul, precious, ancient. Well, the Queen of Discs tends to these things, providing an environment where things can grow slowly and beautifully. Now, there is pressure too, and pruning and shaping, as with the cultured rose garden behind her. It's in her garden with all the elements in perfect harmony that you live your life, sustained by her milk, food, water, air, life. Now, this is a time when you will be ambitious, affectionate and kind, charming. You may actually have a little bit of timidity about you. Just be aware of that, because we saw the need to compete here. But there's great fruitfulness here. Physical nourishment is important. Make sure that you're looking after your health, would you please? I think that you are overcoming something of a barren past here. This is a time for you to work with your instinct rather than with your fine intellect. Don't experiment with things just at the moment for this month, but work with what is tried and true. Now, I think you have passed through an arid stretch on your journey and have arrived now in more fruitful surroundings. Now you can rest and devote some attention to yourself and your physical needs and your health. In what ways have you neglected your body, your outer self? Do you indulge yourself? Devote more attention to your health and physical beauty. Well, you do have physical beauty anyway, just as she does, but don't rest on your laurels and say to yourself, I give my body the gift of loving attention. It gives me the gift of life, energy, joy in living, and health. Well, I'm bashing this to death, so that is the way it is for you. A fascinating spread of cards. I'm sure you will agree with me. And what a great month it looks like it's going to be for you. Gee, I might come move into your place if that's okay, because it looks like everything is going to be happening for the good. Well, what we're going to do now, though, of course, is to let that sink in, and I'll see you again next month. But until then, remember one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.